when I ask these older individuals, like, what are you going to do for retirement? Almost across the board, everyone, the answer is, I don't know. When I was 16 years old, I started working as a messenger for this company in downtown Brooklyn. My boss, who was an old Caucasian man, he basically told me, I'm gonna give you these packages. I'll give them to you to deliver. When you come back, we'll see if you're good to go. I delivered the packages and came back, and literally, he hired me right there on the spot. Right after he hired me, he looked me directly in my face with a stern look and said, start preparing for retirement now. At the time, I had no idea what he was talking about. And I kind of thought he was just, some crazy old guy. Now that I reflect back, that was one of the many times throughout my life that I was gifted with some invaluable information that would massively benefit me financially for decades to come. This is Kareem with NewTX Realty. I am a real estate broker and investor here in Dallas, Texas. And today we will be focusing on retirement. How much do Americans need to retire? Not only will this help give older viewers some important information, it will help younger viewers avoid making the same mistakes. This here is an article. This is important because the first thing we have to find out is what the current state of retirement is. Once we figure that out, then we can find out, well, where should we be? The average American has this much retirement savings by 60. According to the Federal Reserve, the median retirement account savings for households between ages 55 and 64 is roughly $185,000. While this is a considerable amount of money, it's probably not enough to secure a comfortable retirement for most people. A standard household making the median income will likely want between $415,000 and $825,000 in assets as they enter their 60s to maintain their standard of living in retirement. Whoa. There's a lot of information. We got to break that down. One thing that we want to distinguish is the difference between median and average. And another thing that's going to be very important is understanding what the median income is. I've touched on this before where we talked about the median income, which is $74,580. This is saying basically that as you enter into 60, so we're talking maybe 58, 57, 59, your assets should be between $415,000 and $825,000. First question I pose to the viewers: how many people between the ages of 55 and 59 that you know have assets between that amount? This is where it starts to get real, very real. So according to the Federal Reserve, households between ages 55 and 64 have the following median assets. Retirement accounts, okay, 185,000. Other financial assets, 67,000. Home equity, 350,000. Total net worth, $364,000. Okay, that's the median. Those are the median numbers. So now let's move to the average numbers. Retirement accounts, $537,000. Much greater than the 185,000. Other financial assets, 150,000, much greater than the 67,000. Home equity, 504,000, much greater than the 350. And last, total net worth, 1.56 million. Wow. And as we go up, the Federal Reserve even explains this. In the case of the U.S. economy, a small number of households hold vastly more wealth and assets than most others. This skews the average results upwards, making it look like most Americans have more money saved than they actually do. Wow. It explains it all. So the average numbers look way higher than the median numbers because we have a small number of people that have large amounts of wealth. And this is going to skew the numbers much higher. So how much money do we need to retire? We first have to take into consideration, how old do I want to be when I retire? Where do I want to live when I retire? What do I want to do when I retire? All of these factors have to be taken into consideration. And I want to look at Florida, the retirement state of the country. The annual retirement expenditures will cost you roughly $58,000. So that's approximately how much it's going to cost you to live in Florida in retirement. Now, this minimum for 25 years of retirement that you need, and this is that you need. This is not including the money you're going to get from Social Security, according to this article. If you want to retire in Florida, you need a minimum of $920,000 for 25 years of retirement. Based on where we are with inflation and everything right now, I would probably put these numbers towards the lower end. So now let me take a look at New York. Annual retirement expenditures, $73,140. Minimum needed for 25 years of retirement, $1,289,000. That's the minimum that we're going to need to be able to retire. Let me check out Texas. Oh, okay. Texas is even lower than Florida. So this is good. Annual retirement expenditures, $53,771. Minimum needed for 25 years of retirement, $805,000. Having this example where we're able to get these numbers, this is very important because, number one, it's going to give us a kind of like a baseline of, hey, just think about, this is probably where you need to be. One of the things that I learned while I was working at the bank, I would always talk to our financial advisor, and he told me I would always recommend, when you retire, you pay off all your debt. So that's your house. If you have investment properties, that's your investment properties. If you have a cars, that's your car, your credit cards, health, whatever type of debt you have that paid off prior to you going into retirement. So ever since then, I've always kept that in the back of my head. So on each of these brackets, what is the highest expense? Housing, the largest, according to these charts, the largest portion of the expense. Let's get down to the $1 million question. Let's say I need $96,000 a year. How much money do I need to have when I retire? Oh, let's find out. A basic rule of thumb for saving is the 80% rule. According to the theory, if your yearly income is $100,000, you should have enough from pre-retirement to earn $80,000 in retirement. Calculate the retired savings to generate the necessary income in retirement. Divide the desired annual income by 4%. If your desired annual retirement income is $96,000, you need retirement savings of $2.4 million. In the first article, we've seen that the current state of retirement in this country, most people don't have $2.4 million. Most people don't even have $1 million. And it says this calculation is based on the assumption of a 5% return on investment after considering taxes and inflation. And we're going to get into that later on. But one thing that you guys have to be mindful of are taxes and inflation. Okay. That's very, very important. You may live in New York. You may live in California. You may live in Florida, Texas, wherever you live. You must figure out the type of life you want to live, where you want to live, what you want to do, the age you want to be when you retire. All these things. And when you figure out how much it's going to cost on a yearly basis, you divide that number by 0.04, and that'll give you a rough estimation of where you need to be. Good deal. Good deal. This right here, this is a Department of Labor PDF, and all these links will be in the description of the video. Top 10 ways to prepare for retirement. Facts. Only half of Americans have calculated how much they need to save for retirement. In 2020, more than a quarter of private industry workers with access to a defined contribution plan, such as a 401k plan, did not participate. The average American spends roughly 20 years in retirement. This is assuming we already understand how much money we're going to need. We already know our age, where we plan to retire. We already know where we're going to live. We know what we're going to do. So now we got that number. Boom. How are we going to get there? Okay. Start saving, keep saving, and stick to your goals. Know your retirement needs. Contribute to your employer's retirement savings plan. Learn about a pension plan. Consider basic investment principles. And put money in the IRA. Find out about Social Security. All these things. And then here on the side, the advantage of starting early. See, when I saw this, again, I thought back to my boss. When he told me, hey, I'll hire you. Now you got to start preparing for retirement. I was 16 years old. 16 years old. Some of the best information, best advice that I've ever gotten in my life. And at the time, I didn't understand it, but through the years, it finally clicked. This is the advantage of starting early. If you invest for 5 years, and this is just, okay, if you save $6,000 each year and your money earns 7% annually, after 5 years, you have 34,000. 15 years, 150,000. 25 years, 379,000. 35 years, $829,000. And this is just $6,000 annually. Some people spend more money than that taking a trip to the Bahamas, taking a Disney cruise. And that's the importance of this video, because a lot of times we just assume retirement is just, oh, that's some distant future, but it's going to be here faster than we think. And if we don't make the right choices now, we're really, really going to put ourselves in a very bad position once we get to retirement, because these are the conversations that we need to be having. That way we can help protect and secure our future. So this right here is Vanguard's retirement nest egg calculator. Based on the amount of years you plan to spend on retirement, your balance, your savings balance, or your investment balance, the amount of money you're going to need every single year to sustain yourself. This will basically let you know, hey, is it going to last 30 years? So for 30 years, let's say, okay, I want to make $75,000 a year. I only got $1.8 million. I needed to pay me $75,000 a year for 30 years. This is how my investment portfolio is going to be allocated. And this is all just an example. I want to have some stocks because that's going to give me the most return, but it's also the most risky. So let me keep that to 20%. My bonds, okay, that's a little less risky, but it's not as much returns as a stock. So I'm going to keep that to 30%. The majority of my retirement, I'm 50% cash, because I don't need to be affected by no crazy downturn, no crazy economic events. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to keep 50% cash, or, treasuries, whatever the case may be. And then let me run this simulation. So run simulation with new inputs, and it's running 100,000 simulations. So we come down here. Probability that savings will last 30 years, 76%. That's pretty good. Even if I'm like, you know what, that's a little bit too low for me. What am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to come back up here. I'm not going to mess with this because, again, I'm in retirement, so I can't be, gambling. I'm going to lower my quality of life. So instead of 75, I'm going to go down to 65. Because, again, this is, maybe my house is paid off. My cars are paid off. I got a few investment properties that's paid off. So I don't have any credit card debt. So all I got to do is cover my property tax, my home insurance, some maintenance here or there. But I've kept up with my house, did everything before I retired. I don't need a whole $75,000. You know what? I'll lower that down to $65,000. I love what I do. I run my business. So you know what? When I retire, I'm probably going to be running my business maybe till I'm about 65, 70. I don't even need this to last me 30 years. I need this to last me, let's say 25 years. And so even if I still got $1.8 million in the market, let's see how that affects this probability number. So it runs the $100,000 simulations. Boom. Ooh, look at that. By making minor adjustments, probability that savings will last 25 years, 98%. Woo. Now that I'm comfortable with, and this is even with a very, very conservative allocation in regards to my investment strategy. So this, guys, is on Vanguard. This is a very, very cool tool. I would really, really implore you guys take a look at this, try it out, come play with the numbers, and literally use this to make better decisions about your retirement planning, because it's extremely, extremely important. So another thing we have to take into consideration are the economic impacts that's going to affect market fluctuations and the economy. What does that mean? If I plan on preparing for retirement, let's say that's 30 years away. 30 years away, I can only assume things are going to be much more expensive. Even after I retire, I have to ensure that my retirement is still going to secure and protect me in the event that we have market fluctuations while I'm retired. So once I retired, let's say a war pop off or some massive recession or some massive inflation, I need to make sure that my retirement is able to withstand that. Retiring in America increasingly means working into old age, new book finds. So retirement in America, it basically means, hey, you just got to work into your old age. Why is that? Because they didn't properly prepare. Further says, the nation's retirement system has left behind the bottom 90% of workers. Teresa, she made a new book called Work, Retire, Repeat: The Uncertainty of Retirement in the New Economy. And she's a labor economist and a professor at the New School for Social Research in New York. What does she say? 10% of Americans between the ages of 62 and 70 are both retired and financially stable. Wow. It further states the majority of older Americans are either retired but living below the standard of living they enjoyed while working. You see, I don't want to do that. I do not want to retire and I'm living below the standard of or quality of life I had when I was working. Retirement is supposed to be, okay, I've worked this long. Let me enjoy these last bit of time I have left on this earth before I'm up out of here. So if I got to work the majority of my life and then get to retirement and have an even worse life than when I was working, oh, no. Something got to give. I made a graphic error somewhere. No. This, again, is why this information is so important. This is why when I'm looking at these bank statements and these credit card balances for these older individuals, I mean, individuals in their 50s, mid to late 50s, these are probably the people who are going to be having a lower quality of life if they even get to retire. And there's a chance they won't be able to. 30% of Americans lack any retirement savings. Oh my gosh. Guys, like I said, my boss, and this is an old Caucasian man in his mid to late 60s, when I was 16 years old, told me, now you start preparing for retirement. And he was not lying. The earlier you prepare for retirement, the better. The easier it's going to be as you go through your life. Start that consistent savings, that consistent investing. That's what I try to do here on this channel. Yes, we have our real estate videos, but what good is buying a house if I'm going to lose it to foreclosure or taxes or something in the next 5 years? What good is buying a house if by the time I retire, I can't even continue to live in it because I haven't paid it off or I can't afford it no longer because I didn't prepare properly? This is where we are. Republican lawmakers have proposed raising the retirement age for claiming Social Security up to 70. Wow. So now it used to be 62, then they went to 65, and then they rose it to 67. Now they want to raise it to 70. Woo, that's a lot of working. We're going to have folks out here dying literally on the job. It's insane. At the end of the day, decisions that we make right now are going to have massive effects on our circumstances in the future. Thank you. As always, if these videos provide value to you or someone you know, please subscribe, like, hit the notification bell on my YouTube channel. That'll notify you so you can get more valuable financial insights. This is Kareem with NewTX Realty. Until next time.